Sometimes, like, she would just on a random day check me out of class. I'd be in like third grade. I'd be sitting in class. It would be a really nice summer day outside. I get called out into the office. My mom's there with my brother, and we would like go to the zoo or something. She really was the best mother that I could imagine.
He actually asked me how I would define our relationship because it was kind of unusual, kind of, I don't know, different than what you'd normally expect. Um, Really, really close. When he asked me the question, I laughed and I told him um, there's definitely a best friend quality in there. Uh, Closer than brother in law, definitely more like a brother. A respected adult figure, which was most of the time him. And just kind of everything, best friend, parental figure, confidant.
She used to make, hands down, no questions asked, the greatest peanut butter and jelly sandwich you have ever eaten, certified. Put a stamp on it. It was incredible. And I just remember how that little thing that she did every day, packing me a lunch with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in it, meant a lot to me because I was always a fat kid. I was always picked on. I was always bullied. I was never really had a lot of friends.
I think the thing we did the most often together was we just talked about everything. As a result of his lupus, he had kidney failure, um, and we found out he needed a kidney transplant, and he had to go on dialysis, which I don't know if you know what dialysis is, but it's basically your blood is taken out of your body and filtered, and like all of the toxins or things that shouldn't be there are kind of pulled out and then it's put back in. I would stay up with him when he was on dialysis at home, which he usually wouldn't start till like 2 in the morning, and it takes like 3 to 4 hours. So I'd usually be up all hours of the night, but that wasn't usually a bad thing. We usually talked and stuff, so.
She has a muscle condition called fibromyalgia, and basically it makes her feel pain often, and she'll go into these bouts of chronic pain. And in order to combat the fibromyalgia, her doctor put her on painkillers, some sort of opiate based painkiller.
When he was in and out of the hospital a lot, it wasn't just concern for him. Like, it was concern for him, but at the same time, it was me being like, oh no, what if something happens? And being really worried about that. But at the same time, there's another part of your brain telling you, but nothing is going to happen. Like, he's been in and out of the hospital before.
Instead of using the pills, she started drinking because she thought, well, alcohol isn't as bad as these pills. I can't even get out of bed when I'm on these pills. If I have a few drinks and just get the edge off, I'll be okay. Have you ever had the perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich? That scrumptious, sweet and salty, squishy, yummy yummy in my tummy, good till the last drop slice of heaven? I'm talking about the kind of PBJ that doesn't even need a glass of milk to finish. Well, Mom, you used to make those sandwiches for me. You were an artist with Jif and Smuckers, and your canvas was Wonder Bread. And every day I would go to school carrying one of your masterpieces in a brown paper bag. And when that lunch bell rang and I sank my teeth into that sandwich, I would forget that I was sitting alone.
Could you describe to me the day he died?
Yeah, I pretty much remember everything about that day, or at least about the evening. my twin, who was staying at Nina and DeCosta's house, gave me a call and said, "Are you awake enough to drive?" And I said, "Yes, I'm awake enough to drive. What's wrong?" And she said, "Nina needs a ride to the hospital. Apparently DeCosta was taken there and she has a flat tire. She can't get there herself." So I was like, okay, I'm out the door. So I went through emergency, and like one of the guards there directed me into a side room. And the first thing I registered was that Nina was an absolute, I can't even think of a good enough word to describe it, absolutely devastated. Wouldn't even begin to cover how I saw her when I walked in. She was completely hysterical, crying. I had no idea what was going on. And there was another man there, and I turned to him, I said, "What happened?" And he said, "DeCosta passed away." And I don't really know what my initial reaction was. The first thing I did was I took my glasses off, I went over to Nina, and I just held her. And like just kept hugging her and stroking her hair, and she was crying and turning to me and telling, I was the only one there with her from our family at the time, and she kept saying, "Tell me I'm dreaming, tell me this isn't true." And I mean, how can you respond to that, really?
Your brilliance amazed me. The way you never put on too much peanut butter or not enough jelly. The way you never used the crusty ends of the loaf. How you always cut roofs and never doors. And Mom, I'm glad you didn't cut doors, because when I think of doors, I think of doorways. When I think of doorways, I think of your way. Out the door and out of our lives, never to return.
The man who was in the room who gave us the news originally told us what happened. DeCosta started doing dialysis at a center as opposed to doing it at home just a few weeks before. And he was there doing dialysis, and his heart just failed while he was on the machine. There was no family with him. He was just by himself. He was just there with the people who are always there. And they called an ambulance and they brought him to the hospital, but they couldn't like resuscitate him and bring him back. They asked Nina if she wanted to go see him, go see DeCosta, and she was really scared too and really nervous. And I didn't know if I wanted to, but I asked her if she wanted me to go with her, because I would do anything at that point to make anything easier for her. And she said yes. So we walked down the hall, took a left, took another left, and he was like behind a curtain or something. I think out of everything that happened that day, when I walked through that curtain, that was probably one of the worst moments of the entire ordeal, because even though I knew it was not going to happen, even though I knew that he would never do something like that, I was holding on to this one little piece of hope that he was playing a joke on us or something, and that when I walked in, I looked at him, he would open his eyes. And he didn't. And I think that was probably the hardest moment, even harder than hearing the news originally, because that's when it really just hit me. And I don't know, I think I'll always remember that moment when I was looking at his face and he didn't open his eyes.
I remember hearing you and Daddy fighting, being too afraid to ask, and the clinky clank of bottles piling up inside the trash can, the searing pain that filled my veins when you beat me with that cast pan. And the way you changed so fast, Mom, I just wish that you could snap back. But you can't and you won't. It was your choice to go off vanishing. But I just wish you'd come and try to reconcile the damages. 'Cause, Mother, even worse than the taste of your abandonment was that of all my failed attempts at peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I had to drive myself home, and Nina had to drive herself home, which really sucked. And it's really weird. I am not an overtly religious person. I actually it was really, really bad timing. I'd been struggling with what I believed in, and the night before DaCosta passed away, I finally was able to tell myself what I believed, and I actually believed myself when I told it to myself. So I finally felt like I found what I'd been looking for. And the very next day this happened, it completely shattered what I believed in. But the entire ride home, I was so distracted and so like kind of in a daze that the only thing I did the entire time I drove home was I kept saying the Lord's Prayer out loud over and over again the entire couple miles home because I needed something as I was driving.